I always say, I hope it works. Anyways, welcome to this English listening and conversation practice lesson. If you don't know who I am, I'm Bob the Canadian, and welcome. I teach English on YouTube. If you are interested, there are lots of other videos to watch. I'm just going to double check to make sure everything is working properly. I think it is. As you know, this works. I hope it works. There, I just heard myself talking, so that's a good sign. Anyways, welcome to this live lesson. This is meant to be a time where you can ask me questions about the English language. Todd has and will post a form, and you can follow that link to ask questions. We also have Sean from Free 99 English in the chat, and he is quite helpful as well. So welcome, and I think maybe we should get started. Maybe I should find the first question and we'll get going. Usually I get through most of the questions, but there are already a lot of questions, so we'll see how things go. And just so you know, some of you posted questions before the stream started, and I did accidentally erase those. So I'm starting from, I think the first question is from Luza. And Luza's question is, let me get this pasted in. I do usually paste the question into the chat so that you can see it. So Luza's question is, hi Bob, could you please tell me what's the difference between a joke and an anecdote? Thank you. So a joke is a little story that has a funny ending and makes everyone laugh. And jokes are something that people tell over and over again, and it doesn't have to be your own story. An anecdote, on the other hand, is usually just a little story that you tell that's interesting to people. It doesn't have a punchline, so a joke usually has a punchline. When you say the punchline in a joke, that's the part that makes everyone laugh and really enjoy the joke. So a joke is kind of a common, cultural, funny little story that has a punchline and makes everyone laugh. An anecdote is just a cute story that you could tell. So that is the difference. Again, welcome to everyone here. I'm going to be pulling questions from the chat over here. And the next question is from Virginia. And the question is, what is the difference between store and shop? Thanks, Bob. Kind regards from Uruguay. When the English teacher starts to have trouble pronouncing words, that's a problem. So generally, what I usually say is a shop can be smaller than a store. That's not always true, but a lot of times in a downtown, there will be a lot of cute little shops. They are also stores, okay? So in that situation, if you would go to a small music shop in your local town, you could also say that you're going to your local music store. You could use them interchangeably. Generally, once things get bigger, we would call it a store, although that's not always true. But definitely a store and a shop are both places where they would sell things. Next question is from Virginia. Let's see here. I said this once, but maybe Bob didn't read it. Bob has this nice friendly vibe and it makes you want him to be your uncle. Thank you very much, Mossy Rock. I don't often read straight from the chat because it goes by too quickly, but that was very nice of you. I am called Uncle Bob in some countries. I think in China I'm called Uncle Bob. Anyways, the next question. Virginia, I want to be, in brackets, examples, when to use it, many thanks. So whenever you're talking about something in the future, so like if I want to be a successful YouTuber, I want to be a successful musician, I want to be a teacher someday, I want to be a better person. So anytime you're talking about something that's going to happen in the future, you could use that phrase as well. Next question, Andre Cruciante. I really hope, Andre, that I'm saying your name right. I just like the way it sounds when I say Cruciante, but it might be Cruciant. I don't know. I think it's French, so it might be Cruciant. Anyways, hi Bob. In the phrase, we can rent a cottage if it's not too dear, I assume that dear means expensive, but I find it a little strange to tell you the truth. It does mean expensive. When you go to a store to buy things and they are more money than you were expecting, you could say, oh, these are a little dear. And it sounds funny, but we do say it. It sounds kind of old-fashioned. It sounds like an old word, but I say it. I guess I'm old, but I do say dear. I might say, oh, we need to buy a new van, but a new van is a little dear, which would mean that it's very, very expensive, or my opinion would be that it's expensive. I see a lot of people asking questions in the chat. Please be aware that I don't have time to answer the questions straight from the chat. So please do ask them using the form. And I do ask that you don't ask detailed grammar questions. You're often better off just watching an actual lesson on that grammar concept rather than having me explain it. And it's difficult to explain grammar without a whiteboard to make notes on for you. So I like this live lesson to be more conversation. You ask a question, I answer it, as well as listening practice for you. So as my voice goes into your ears, it's good for you to hear a native speaker. So the next question then is from, what am I doing here? The next question is from Zara from Iran. What's the difference between last week and this past week? Thanks in advance. So noticed, Zara, I made a small correction there. The phrases would be last week and this past week, and there is no difference. So last week, let's see, what did I do last week? Last week, I went to market and I sold some flowers. This past week, I went to market and I sold some flowers. Sometimes last week means the entire week previous to this one, and this past week can just mean a few days ago. So there's a slight offset, but you can use them almost interchangeably. Let's see here. Sean says he might not be able to watch the whole live stream. That's too bad, Sean. It's nice having you around, but enjoy picking your daughter up from work. The jobs of a dad are endless. That's my phrase for the day. Next question from Cheng. Cheng says, what is the opposite of recline? Can you recline your seat a bit? Can you, what is the opposite of recline? If I recline, so if I have a reclining chair, I go backwards, I just sit up. That's all I would say. I would say I sit up, or I put my chair back up if I'm in a recliner. Or in an airplane, you would say you return to the upright position, but we don't say that in our houses. But I would say if I'm in a reclining chair and I am reclining, I would simply say that I am sitting up, or I would say I would put the seat back up and get out, or put the chair back up. That's a tricky one. We don't have a specific word that would be the opposite. Let me see here. I'm going to skip multiple questions from the same person so everyone gets a chance. So here we go. Next one is from Daniel. Let's see here. Daniel Mariah says from Brazil, hey Bob, what's up? Not much. I'm sitting outside having a nice evening talking to you guys. Is it common to hear, so this is a swear word, so I'm not going to say it, blank yeah in Canada when you agree with someone? I've heard this a lot of times in videos. So if you are someone that doesn't mind swearing, if you are someone who doesn't mind saying a bad word, you might say that, okay? You might hear that on a television show or in a movie. So it's definitely a very common phrase. In my circles, I don't usually use words like that, but there are many, many people who do say that. It's very, very common. Let's see here. Tiago Lima says, what's the difference between underrated and overrated? So if something is underrated, it's way better than people think it is. So I have a van, and it's a really reliable van, and it's a really cheap van. I think it's underrated. That means that I think more people should buy it, because some people don't think it's a good van, but I think it's a great van. So it's underrated. Overrated is when everyone loves something and it's actually not that good. So there might be a popular singer and they have a brand new song and all the radio stations are playing that song. But you might think, that song's overrated. I'm tired of hearing it. It's overrated. It's not really that good. So that would be the difference between those two, Tiago. Next question is from, let's see here. Emmanuel says, what does quirk mean? It's kind of a special ability. Depends. Everyone has little quirks. So they're parts of their personality that we usually like quirks. One of my, let me see, what is one of my quirks? I say a lot. Have you noticed that? I say when I'm talking a lot. It actually makes it easier for you to understand me. So one of my quirks is that I say And another one of my quirks is that I make fun of myself a lot. So a quirk is just a little personality trait that you like about someone. Someone might wear glasses and they constantly push their glasses up, and you might say that's just a little quirk they have. Or you might know someone with glasses and they always take their glasses off when they talk to you and then they put them back on. That might be a little quirk that they have. Let's see here. Again, I do see people asking questions in the chat. It's really helpful if you just ask questions via the form. I will get to as many as I can, but certainly having lots of conversation in the chat is an excellent thing to do. Let's see here. Zara the Iranian. So we know where Zara is from. Thank you so much. Could you please tell me which one is correct? My friend and I, or me and my friend? So the one that is correct is my friend and I. The one that you will hear a lot in English, because we break the rules, is me and my friend. So me and my friend went and saw a movie the other day. It's totally common to say that, but you should technically be saying my friend and I. Or you might even hear my friend and me. My friend and me are gonna go see a movie tomorrow, or me and my friend. So technically incorrect, but you would hear that a lot in English. Let's see here. Lolly has a question. Lolly says, hi Bob, excuse my French. Is this expression used in Canada? Yes, we say excuse my French after we say something that's maybe not appropriate, or after we swear. Even though we didn't actually use a French word, we might say excuse my French. Let's see here. Let's see. I still see questions in the chat. I'm sorry, folks. When there were less people, that worked really well. But lately, there are usually too many. I'm not sure how many are watching today. Alexi says, hi, Bob. I'm a little confused with these phrasal verbs. Square away and scope something out. Could you please explain them and give an example? When you square things away, it means you're putting them away in an orderly fashion. So you could say, when you come home with your groceries, you square away the groceries. I will say, though, it's not a very common phrase. We don't use the verb square away very often. And then when you scope something out, it means you go have a look at it. So maybe there's a gym in your local town and you're interested in working out there. You might go scope it out, which means you're just going to visit and have a look and see what kind of weights and exercise machines they have. So when you scope something out, it simply means that you go to have a look at it. Next question here. Brahim has a good question. I misclicked here. Brahim says, what's it mean screwed up? So I'm going to define these separately. So if you screw up, it means to make a mistake. If someone is screwed up, it means they are, I would say, a person who is a little bit messed up. It's not a great definition, but if you screw up at work, it means that you made a mistake. If people say that you are a screw up, it's a different thing. It means that you're someone who just doesn't do things right in life. Maybe you drink too much. Maybe you take drugs, and people would just say, oh, that guy's a screw up. So slightly different meanings there, folks. Hopefully I defined them well for you. Renata is here again tonight. There's 2 Renatas, I think, in the chat usually. So anyways, Renata Mayumi says, hey sir, your grass is so beautiful and green. My question is, what is the difference between Quebecois French and the French spoken in France? So first of all, the accent is different, and there are slightly different sayings in each language. Even though I'm Canadian, I actually know a lot more French from France than from Quebec. I'm sorry if you're from Quebec, because I watch mostly television and movies from France. There are some phrases that are different as well, but when people from Quebec and France get together, they would naturally speak a more common type of French. The same way, if I meet somebody from Australia, I would use less Canadian idioms and they would use less Australian idioms right away, just so that we understand each other. Let's see here. Next question is from, let me see how many are here. Oh, there's lots of questions. Sorry, folks. I'm already getting behind in the questions. And again, I am going to, if I see a name asking multiple questions, I might skip some of yours just to keep up. Let's see here. We have a question from Youre Kim from Korea. Do you have a plan to show us the nature of Canada, like the Rocky Mountains? So the Rocky Mountains are very, very far from where I live. I would love to show them to you, but at this point in time, I don't have enough money. I would need to fly for about 4 hours to get to the Rocky Mountains. Canada is a very, very, very big country. So Youre Kim, not anytime soon, but I will show you more nature that I can find around here. Next question from Rogerio Musidas. Bob, can you talk about Canada's political system? How does the election work? Very quickly, Canada is a democracy. We have 3 levels of government. We have local government. Our town has a mayor. We have the provincial government. The province of Ontario has a premier. And we have the federal government. The country of Canada has a prime minister. I don't want to go into too many more details, but that is a quick description of the levels of government that we have. Next question from Maxime says, hello Bob, the speech of the American is completely different from the Englishman in accent, but are there any differences in speech between Native Americans and Canadians? So the first thing you should know is that Americans and Englishmen, I guess, Americans and people from Britain or the UK can easily communicate with each other. They generally use a more neutral form of English and speak a little more slowly. And Americans and Canadians have no problem communicating. I see Americans almost weekly, and our countries are so close together that we watch a lot of American TV and Americans watch a lot of Canadian TV, and there are 0 problems in us understanding each other. It works really well, actually. And it's also good for trade between our countries. Paul has a question here. Paul's question is, hello, Robert, how are you? Thank you for using my official name, Robert the Canadian. Could you pronounce these words, shatter and shudder? Am I right that the double T sounds like D? This makes these words sound the same. So listen closely. When I pronounce it correctly, I say shatter, shatter. You hear the T a little bit, but generally I would say shatter, shatter. Like if you smash a window with a baseball bat, the glass would shatter. And if they're shivering, but you can also shudder. So they sound a little bit alike, the double D and the double T, but one is definitely shatter and the other is shudder. But good point, Paul. They do sound like a D in the middle. Renata has a question here. Renata says, Could you explain the difference between answer, reply, and respond? Thank you. They almost mean exactly the same thing. So I try to reply to all the questions. I try to respond to all the questions. I try to answer all the questions during the live stream. I feel like I'm going too fast because I feel like I'm getting behind, but I will just relax a little bit and try to speak slowly and clearly for you. Alex says, hi, what language do you speak? I speak English, et aussi je parle français. English is my native language, so I learned English as a child. I grew up in an English-speaking house, and I learned French later in life, so it is an acquired language for me. Let's see here. Madi says, the question from Madi is, hi Bob. Hi. Do you think reading books is the first way for learning English? I usually read about 15 minutes every day. I am a firm believer that reading is one of the best ways to start learning a language, because you can read at your own pace. You can read slowly, but what you should do is, and people who have been listening to me for a while, you should be reading, writing, listening, speaking, and acquiring or learning new vocabulary every day. So don't just read. You can become an amazing English reader and not really understand or know how to write or how to speak English. So make sure you are doing all five. Again, read, write, listen, speak, learn vocabulary. Do it every day and you will be well on your way. Let's see here. John Lee has a question, but I don't actually understand it, John. I'll post it in the chat. Hi, John, by the way. It's good to see you again. John Lee says, hello, Bob. Can you tell me about apparatus and organ? What's apparatus and organ? Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't quite understand the question, John. An apparatus, though, is any kind of machine. It's an older word for machine. Like an apparatus is something that you put together and it has cranks and gears and things like that. An organ is something in your body. You have organs, and you can also play the organ, by the way. You can play the piano or you can play the organ. It has two meanings. Let me clear up some of my questions here. Leo from Brazil says, hi Bob, there's a river behind you. Yes, there is. Lost my spot here. Have you ever had to move out because the river was flooded? So the river does freeze. The river does flood. It also freezes in the winter. Sorry, I got that confused. When the river floods, you can't quite see it, but it just goes over the bank a little bit. It can look like a lot of flooding, but I'm actually quite high on a hill, and our house is on a hill. So although the river has flooded, we have not had to move because of it. Arash has a question. Arash has a question about pronunciation. What is the pronunciation? Just a sec here. What is the pronunciation of follow, followed, and followers, as well as a lawyer? So when someone is walking, if you walk behind them, you follow them, follow. The person in front is being followed, okay? And the person behind is a follower, and then lawyer. Lawyer is someone who goes to court and argues with the judge. That's how I would describe that. Let's see here. Let me click here. Zion says, how do you say the day that is 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, or 4 days ago? So here's how we do it. I would say yesterday. Yesterday I did a lesson on school. The day before yesterday, which for us would be Thursday, the day before yesterday, I went to market and I sold flowers with Jen. Once you get that far, you don't usually say the day before yesterday, because that gets really confusing. You just say Wednesday, or last Wednesday, or last Tuesday. So we do say yesterday, we do say the day before yesterday, but once you get that far into the past, you're better off just saying last Wednesday, last Tuesday, last Monday. That would be the best way to do it. I needed a drink of tea. That tasted really good, actually. Okay, next question. Let me tidy up my questions here. I think I have some repeats. Miroslav says, first of all, hi Bob and Todd. Hi, how are you? Hope both of you are doing well. Could you please explain more about the meaning of millennials, Generation X, Generation Z, or Generation Z if you are in America? And thanks in advance. So I don't want to go into too many details, Miroslav. I'm not an expert on this, but different generations, we give different names. And I don't remember the exact dates, but currently people that are, I think, over 20 are millennials, and then the generation above that is Generation Y, and above that is Generation X. We also have the baby boomers and other generations. If you are very interested in that, I would suggest reading a little bit on Wikipedia. That would be a great place to look for that. I just want to pause and say hi to English teacher Joe Crossman. I see him in the chat as well. Another English teacher on Instagram and YouTube. So if you, some of you might even know Joe. He has been teaching English online for a very long time. So hello, Joe. It's good to see you here. Let's see here. What's the next question? A pronunciation question from Arturo. What's the difference between off and of? So hear the difference there. By the way, my bug spray is actually called off. I think because it keeps the mosquitoes off of me, okay? So if there's two F's, you say off, and if there's one F, you say of. Let me jump back to the question sheet, and let me clear up some things. There are a few grammar questions in here. Remember, I tend to not answer them. But here we go with the next question from Lucas. Lucas says, good evening, Mr. Bob. Good evening, Lucas. I've heard the phrasal verb, burn out, and I didn't quite get it. Does it mean to be tired? So when you work at a certain job for a very long time, and it's a really hard job, you can burn out. That means that mentally you get very, very tired and fatigued, and you find it difficult to do your job. So that's one meaning of burnout. Another meaning of burnout is sometimes when teenagers drive their car, they spin the tires so it goes like the tires spin and then smoke comes off, and we call that a burnout. Interesting, eh? So you can burn out at work and you can do burnouts in your car. Two meanings there. So this word, Hamza, what does discombobulated mean? We don't use that word a lot, but discombobulated means like not organized and mixed up. Everything was discombobulated. It's a fun word to say. Everyone should say it right now, discombobulated, but we don't often use it in everyday speech. Give me a moment here. I think I just nope, I'm good. I thought I messed up my question sheet. Ken says, hello, Bob-san. I think that means you're treating me with respect. That's nice. I am from Japan. When you say you are welcome, do you pronounce R? I cannot hear R well when native speakers say it. So we say you're welcome. So you are welcome. We create a contraction between you and R, and we say you're welcome. So let me type that in the chat. You're welcome. So you can see how I put an apostrophe R-E, and you just say you're welcome. So very slightly, I'll just say it one more time. You're welcome. You are welcome. You are very welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Very, very quick, and you should just be able to hear it slightly. Let me see here. Clear up some things. And the next question is from Britt. I'm starting to recognize names. Britt says, hi Bob, thank you for your help. My question, when can I use I have no choice instead of I don't have a choice? Thanks again. So first of all, Britt, notice I read that with corrections, okay? When can I use I have no choice instead of I don't have a choice? You can use them almost the same way. Let me just think of 2 example sentences. On Monday, I have to go to work. I have no choice. On Monday, I have to go to work. I have no choice. Did I just say that? I don't have a choice. I just gave the same example sentence twice. On Monday, I have to go to work. I have no choice. On Monday, I have to go to work. I don't have a choice. They mean the same thing in that situation. Luis from Brazil says, good evening, Bob. Have you received your 100K plate from YouTube, or plaque? I think it's a plaque. If yes, and when do you plan to make a video to show us? I have not received it, nor have I gotten a notification saying that I will get one. So hopefully I get that soon. By the way, Luis is talking about the fact that I have over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and then YouTube sends you a nice plaque to hang on the wall to congratulate you. And no, I haven't gotten it yet. It's too bad. Arash, I think I did this already, but we'll post it anyways. What is the pronunciation of follow, followed, follower, layer, and lawyer? So that's the difference there. Layer and lawyer. So when you pile things on top of each other, there's many, many layers. Can you hear that? Layer. But when you need to go to court to see a judge, you hire a lawyer. Okay. Misha DeSantos has given me a super chat. Thank you, Misha DeSantos, very, very much. I appreciate that. I will use that to help pay for my rural internet on the farm. That's what I tell people. First of all, you don't need to give me money. Secondly, if you do, I use it to help pay my internet bill because I live way out in the country and the internet's kind of expensive. But anyways, thank you, Misha. That's very, very nice of you. Gustavo Lamita says, hello, Bob. Thanks for your time. No problem. I'm from Venezuela, and I will be taking my IELTS exam soon. Wish me luck. Well, good luck. I hope you've done a lot of work, Gustavo, to prepare, and I hope that your test goes really, really well. I know it can be stressful. Get a good night's sleep the day before or the night before, and hopefully you can do well and pass and get a really good score. That would be awesome. Let's see here. Brahim has a question. And the question is, hello, Bob. How are you doing today? How are you today? Good. I hope you are doing well. What's the difference between come and come over, go and go down? So sometimes we add, so if my sister comes to my house, she's coming to visit, she can also come over to my house. In that situation, they mean the same thing. So here's 2 examples. Tomorrow, my sister is going to come to my house. Tomorrow, my sister is going to come over. So when I use come over, it kind of just shortens the whole thing. The second one was go and go down. So I'm going to go to Florida. I'm going to go down to Florida. So in that situation, they can mean the same thing as well. So see you, Sean. I know you got to leave, so have fun driving to pick up your daughter. I'm going to continue here, and Isa has the next question. Isa says, what kind of sports do Canadians practice the most, and which is the best? So Isa, noticed I made some corrections while I read your sentence. What kind of sports do Canadians practice the most, and which is the best? Well, I have to say hockey. All Canadians have to say hockey is the best sport. It's the law. I'm joking, but generally most Canadians like to play hockey, practice hockey, watch hockey. Even on the river behind me in the winter when I was a kid, when it was frozen, we would play hockey on the river. Next question. First though, let me just clean up some things here. Again, if I have not answered your question, I apologize. I do have quite a list of questions here right now. And I'm going to try and get through as many as I can. The next question is from William. William says, hi, Bob. Do English native speakers mind that English as a world language is spoken by many people with sometimes funny accents? Do you get offended by that? No, actually the opposite I think is more true. when I hear someone speak English with an accent, it sounds very rich and beautiful. And I think most people would agree. People from different parts of the world, when they speak English and you can hear a bit of an accent, it sounds very beautiful. My grandparents, when I was a kid, had a slight Dutch accent when they spoke English. There was a man who came to the farm when I was a kid to sell us seed, and he had a German accent when he spoke English, and I loved it. I really did. In particular, I love people who speak English with an African accent of any kind. So I just find it very beautiful, very rich, and very nice sounding. Jeff has the next question. Let's see here. Jeff says, can you explain the expression, take you up on that? Thanks. So if someone offers me something, if they say, hey, I have 2 extra tickets to the Maple Leafs hockey game, do you want them? I could say, I need to check if that date works, but I might have to take you up on that. So it basically means I might need to agree. Okay, so I might say, hey, there's a live English lesson next week Friday. You could say, oh, I might just need to take you up on that offer. So if someone offers you something, you can take them up on it, which means you would say yes and accept their offer. Let me have a drink for a sec, folks. Okay, let's see. Luis Carlos says, I sent you the Portuguese names for school elements, vocabulary, and I missed one, vacations, férias. Here in Brazil, they are in July, December, and January. So what Luis Carlos is mentioning is in the live lesson on schools, in the comments, he sent me a very nice list of the English and Portuguese equivalents. That was awesome of you, by the way. And I forgot to mention summer vacation, and Luis is reminding me as well that in Brazil, not in Portugal, in Brazil, their summer vacation is July, December, and January. Very cool. Here, summer vacation for students is July and August. So we're almost done summer vacation. Let's see here. Next question is from Cheng. Is it a piece of laundry? Is this idiomatic? Let's assume I find a shirt in the bathroom and don't know if it's clean or not. So we definitely say, oh, there's a few pieces of laundry. We're really talking about clothes, but we would refer to, oh, I have this shirt here. I don't know if it's clean or not. I think it's a piece of laundry. I think it's dirty and needs to be washed. Let's see here. Next question is from Luis. Bob, why does the province Nova Scotia, why is the province of Nova Scotia not called New Scotland? Do you know anything about that? I don't. But Nova Scotia would be, it looks kind of Latin, doesn't it? Maybe it's the Latin word for it. Nova might mean new. Could be. I don't know. Somebody should go to Wikipedia and look that up. Let's see here. Next question from Zara. Could you please explain the difference between assure, ensure, and insure? So first, let's talk about the pronunciation. Assure, ensure, insure. When you assure someone, it means you comfort them or you tell them they're right. So let's say someone said, I think, how would I describe assure? That's a tricky one. Let me just check for a sec. Sometimes Bob the Canadian looks up definitions while he's doing, to tell someone something positively or confidently, so to dispel any doubts they have. So if someone thinks they're right and you assure them that they're right, it means you agree with them and you want them to also believe that they're right. When you ensure something, it means you make sure that it happens. And when you insure something, it means you pay money. So if there's an accident, you get money from the insurance company. Hopefully that made some sense. English teacher Joe says he is from Nova Scotia and says, yes, it's Latin. Thanks, Joe. Good to know. I didn't know Joe was from Nova Scotia, though. That's really cool. Joe, you should come to Ontario sometime, and we'll do a live stream together on a Saturday night. That would be super fun. I'm talking to Joe Crossman. He's in the chat right now. You should also check out his channel. He has lots of great videos to help you with English. Let's see here. The next question is from Luis from Brazil. Bob, the Canadians do not have a problem with bored in terms of language. How about a country that's making 4 different languages? This is Brazil, 10. So I don't quite understand the question, Louise, but I think I know what you're talking about. In Canada, we have 2 languages. If you want to be in the federal government, you need to be able to function or speak both languages. Let's see. I guess I'm not quite sure. It would be difficult to run a country if there were 4 languages. I think that might be where you are going with that question. So let's see here. Next question. Jugartha. Let's get this posted in here. Jugartha says, hi Bob, I'm from Algeria. What does I happen to mean and how to use it? Thank you. Well, my neighbor's starting his motorcycle. It might be loud in a moment. I just happened to notice that my neighbor was starting his motorcycle. That'd be a great way. So it means that maybe you were doing one thing and then in the moment you noticed something else. I just happen to have tea with me today, which is kind of cool. So that's how you would use it. It's very subtle, the explanation of why we use it. Because you don't necessarily need to, right? If I want to say, oh, mosquitoes are biting me and I just happen to have bug spray with me, I could also say, oh, mosquitoes are biting me and I have bug spray with me. So it's kind of just another word to indicate the immediacy of the moment. That was a big word to use. Sorry about that. Let me clean up my questions here and let's get through a few more. This is from Kindle. Hello, Bob. How do you use the word grace? Let's see. So you use the word grace this way. When a student of mine is bad, and let's say he did something, maybe he was fighting with it, he punched another student, like he punched it. Technically, I should send that student to the principal's office. But if I show grace, I might say, this is the first time this student has done this. I'll just show some grace and I will talk to them about it and I will resolve the situation. So that's what I would do. So that's how I would define the word grace. Hopefully that makes some sense. Dylan has the next question. Dylan says, hi Bob, could you explain the difference in pronunciation between man and men? Thanks. So I am a man. When I go out with my friends, it is usually a group of men. Although I do have, I do have friends from both sexes. But yeah, man is a single male, and men would be a group of them. Man and men. Just a slight difference. Next question. Alexandra says, could you explain how to use the future, will, and going to? So we use these interchangeably. So I could say, I'm going to go to bed tonight at 10:30. I will go to bed tonight at 10:30. Generally, you're supposed to use going to mean things that you're going to be doing soon. And you're supposed to use will for things that are further in the future. But we just use whichever one we feel like at the moment. So hopefully that helps you. Andre Cruciante says, Bob, is the word vulgar I see what you're saying. Is the word vulgar used in normal speech? What is the first meaning that comes to your mind when you hear the word or when you say it? So we do use the word vulgar. We usually use the word vulgar to describe someone who swears a lot, who maybe talks about things that we usually don't talk about. Maybe they talk about going to the bathroom and they describe it in detail. That's very vulgar. Maybe they're describing, maybe they did something romantic with a girl and maybe it led to something even more romantic, like displays of affection. We would consider it vulgar if they described it in detail. So we do use the word vulgar for sure. Renata has a question. Renata's question is the river over there very deep? No, it's not very deep. It's very muddy. It's very wide, but it's not very deep. It's about up to here on me if I walk to the middle, but I would slowly sink in the mud. Did you catch that? The river is wide, but it's not deep. It's about up to here on me. If I stood in the middle, the water would be here. It would be up to here on me, and then I would slowly sink in the mud on the bottom of the river. Let's see here. Next question. I have to clear some of these out for a moment. Let's see. Daniel says, "Hey Bob, how do you feel when you see so many people from all over the world following your videos to learn an idiom? How we can see that your channel is growing every day." I'll tell you what, Daniel, this is what I do. I don't really look at the numbers very much. What I look at is the comments. I love to read the comments. There are lots of very nice, positive comments, and I like to respond to as many as I can. But I try not to think about the fact that 568 people are watching right now. I appreciate all of you. I like it that I can recognize some of the names. Some of you have become regulars, but I usually just try not to think about it. I try to just make videos that are really good, and I'm just happy when I see people are watching them. So what do I think? I would just say thank you. So I'll just say that right now. Thank you to all of you who have hit that subscribe button. Thank you to all of you who watch. It's awesome. I really like teaching, and you really like learning. It's a win-win situation. So that's super fun. Next question. Anyways, thanks, Daniel. That was a great question. Evaldo says, "Hi, from the last class," about school, "how many classes can you miss without repeating the year?" So there is no number in our school, but some schools do have a number, and it's usually 15 classes per semester. Did you get that? 5, 5, 5, 15. Most schools, if you miss 15 classes in a semester, you usually have to repeat those classes. I see George is asking where the cats are. I don't know. The animals don't like the live streams anymore, so sorry about that, everybody. Let's see here. Simon says, "Hi Bob, if I'm burnt by hot water, I will have bubbles on my hands. May I say burnt by hot water and have bubbles on my hand?" No, you would say that you have blisters. So when you burn yourself with hot water, your skin turns red, and you might get what we would call blisters. So Simon is calling them bubbles. They look like bubbles, but they are called blisters. That's what you would have on your hand, and it hurts. I dropped a little bit of boiling water on my foot a couple of years ago, and I had a big red burn, and it had blisters on it. It hurt, Simon. It really, really hurt. It is not a nice thing. Igor has the next question. Igor Beta says, "Hello, teacher. Could you explain the difference between study, learn, and teach?" So when you are, right now you are studying English. So you have decided that you are going to learn English. The way you are going to learn English is to study it. When you watch this live lesson, when you read an English book, when you talk to an English native speaker, when you write in English, you are studying English. You could also say you are learning English. So in that situation, you could basically use both. I am teaching English, okay? So learning and the act of studying are what a student does, and teaching is what a teacher would do. Let me see here. Mao says, question about Canada from Mao. "What kinds of events do Canadians enjoy in the summer? Do you go camping? Do you go see fireworks? Do you go swimming in the lake or at the beach?" I made some corrections there, Mao, just so you know. You might want to listen to those. So what do Canadians do in the summer? What do Canadians do in the summer? Number one, I think people go camping a lot. I don't go camping because this is where I live. It's very beautiful. I find campgrounds very busy. Canadians do a lot of hiking. They do a lot of sightseeing because the province of Ontario and all of the other provinces in Canada are so beautiful. We just go and look at things. We go see waterfalls. We go see big rivers. We go see lakes. And in this part of Canada, we do have beaches. So people do go to the beach quite often. So Nanita, let me just check here. You need to ask the question with the form, and Todd posts the form. I just noticed in the chat, Nanita was saying, I'm asking a question, but you're not answering it. I'm sorry, I can't answer questions straight from the chat. And if you ask a question now, I probably won't have time to answer it anyways. I'm sorry about that, because I have a lot of questions on my list. So do ask it using the form. If you look, Todd will post a link from time to time, and you can use that to ask the question. So sorry for the confusion, but that's how you would ask a question. Next question is from Yaneth from Colombia. Hello, Bob. Which sentence is correct? Let me read these because I don't want to say the sentence out loud if it's wrong. Neither. You would turn around at the end of the road. I think that's what you are looking for. I think if you go and you're driving and you get to the end of the road, you need to turn around at the end of the road. So that's what I would say in that case. Uriel says, what is the difference? Uriel says, hi Bob, what is the difference between think of and think about? Thanks. So I think of is very specific. I need to think of an answer. So if someone asks me a question, I need to think of an answer so I can give the answer. But if someone says to me, I think your live streams are too long, I would say I need to think about that. So I'm not coming up with a quick answer. I'm taking the suggestion and I'm going to take some time to come up with different ideas. So when you think about something, it's a longer process. That's how I would describe the difference between those two, Uriel. Let's see here. John Lee says, John Lee, it's me again. Bob, do you have plans to introduce Jen, let me put her name here. Jen, or your family, for us to get to know them, because I know you have a big family, especially your children. So Lucas, my oldest, is 18, and he was in a live stream once for just 1 or 2 minutes. Jen is quite busy with the flowers right now and does not want to be in a live stream, but someday she will be. And my other children are a lot younger, so I'm going to wait until they're older, and if they want to be on video, I'll let them be on video. But I'm somewhat private as a person, so we'll see. Maybe someday. Let's see. Lisa Huang says, hey Bob, can I use medium done to replace medium well when I'm ordering a steak? I'm confused now, thanks in advance. I would use medium well. So well done, medium well. Those are the two that I would use. I'm not sure what I said last week. I hope that I didn't make a mistake last week. Zara's question is, hey Bob, what is the difference between less and fewer? Thanks a million. So I need to eat less. So it's a general statement. But specifically, I need to eat fewer cookies. So in those two examples, I use them slightly differently. In general, I need to eat less. But specifically, I need to eat fewer cookies. I could actually say, though, I need to eat less cookies. So take that. Hopefully that makes some sense. Kazuya, because I find English weird sometimes. As I'm explaining things, the language seems more and more strange to me. But anyways, let's see here. Kazuyo from Japan says, hi Bob, thank you for all your fun videos, no problem. Do you always have decaf coffee? Why? Is it just because you like it? No. So last year, I had heart surgery. I have a large scar, and they went in and they fixed my heart valve. And so I am someone who cannot have caffeine because they don't want my heart rate to get too high. So the reason I drink decaf coffee is because caffeine is a stimulant and it makes your heart beat faster, and the doctors don't want that to happen. I am very, very sad about that. I love coffee, but now I can only drink decaf coffee. So it's too bad. That's the way it goes. Nanita Suave is asking a question in the chat, and I'm going to answer her to be kind. She wants to know the difference between kind and kinda. So kinda, so let me put it down here. Kind and kind of. Oh, that's a mistake. Don't read that one. Let me delete that one, people. Remove. There we go. I'm deleting my own comments. The words are kind and kind of. Kinda is a short form of kind of. So that's the difference between the two. Ellen is the next question. Or sorry, Ellen has the next question. Can you tell I'm getting a little bit tired? What is the difference, says Ellen, between if so and if any? Well, that's a very tricky one. You guys asked if Jen was going to show up. She's not. She's actually right here, but she's worked in the field all day and she's brought you some flowers to see. So Jen, if you talk really loudly, what kind of flowers are these?
These are zinnias.
These are zinnias. And then on this side, can you show them the little bouquet? So this is a stem. This is a single stem of a flower. And this is a bouquet of flowers that Jen made. It's very beautiful, Jen. Nice work. That's what you would say to someone.
I'm bringing it into your house. Do you want it?
You're bringing it into the house?
The bucket. So you can keep it right here.
Oh, yeah, I'll keep it right here.
Does Oscar want to say hi?
I don't know. Oscar, come here. I have to make sure he doesn't jump on my laptop. Come on, pup.
Where can I go and not be in the...
Come here, pup. Come on. And... There he is. Here, right here, Oscar. There he is. Oh, yeah. Hello, everybody. Very nice. Okay, now we have to gently get him off the table without him stepping on my computer. Okay. Bye, pup. So in English, we often call our dogs pup, which is short for puppy, even if they're not a puppy anymore. So a puppy is a baby dog. So sometimes we call Oscar pup, but his real name is Oscar. Oh, I'm seeing him in the video now. Excellent. Let me do a few more questions here. Let's see. Ellen's question is, had I had time, is this the same meaning as if I had time? Yes. Had I had time, I would have done that. I normally would have said, if I had time. Oh, Jen says I need to keep these flowers visible because the beautiful flowers help people learn English. Next question. There's a few repeats over here. Let me just get rid of some of these. And let me see. Chris has a question. Chris says, hey, I'm having trouble pronouncing the English R sound. Could you help me to pronounce it properly? It's hard to explain it on a video, but when you use the R sound like run or rather or ridiculous, it's r. So if you see how my mouth is forming, r, my tongue is pulled back and it's curled a little bit, r. So that's the best I can do. Chris. Chris is your name. Chris. Practice your name. It has an R in it. Let me see here. Next question. Norma says, hi Bob, what is the most common phrase to answer when someone says thank you? The most common thing to say is you're welcome. We also say no problem. So notice you are welcome becomes you're welcome. So if you say thank you Bob, I say you're welcome. We also say no problem. Like it was no problem, but we shorten that to be it's no problem or no problem. So if someone was to say thank you for doing the video, I'd say it's no problem or no problem. It was no problem. I like doing it. Renata has the next one. Renata Mayumi says, what does uncanny mean? Some people have an uncanny ability to do things. My one son has an uncanny ability to climb trees. That means he's really good at it, but he hasn't been taught to climb trees. He's just really good at climbing trees. So you say it's uncanny. He's like a tree climbing expert. Let's see here. I am going to grab one more question. There are a lot of questions that I don't have time to answer, but Alan has a question here. What is the name of the flowers? So these are zinnias. Let me type it in. These flowers are zinnias. We grow a lot of zinnias. And this flower, if you look right here, try not to drip. This yellow flower, am I pointing to it? This yellow flower is a sunflower. There's another sunflower right here. I'll put that in the chat as well. There are also some sunflowers. Anyways, folks, that is the last question. It has been 1 hour. Thank you so much. Should I leave the flowers here? Thank you so much for watching. I'm Bob the Canadian. If you're new here, you should click the subscribe button. Thanks to Sean and Joe Crossman for being in the chat today. I know there was another English teacher and I can't remember them. Thanks to Todd for moderating the chat. But just thank you for watching. I hope that you learned a lot of English today. Don't forget, you can watch this again tomorrow and turn on English subtitles. If there were a few parts, I'm not sure what's happening in the chat. Things are going a little crazy. Let me just take care of a few of these things. A little crazy in the chat there, Todd. Maybe you can get a hold of that. Lots of spam happening. Anyways, thanks for watching. There will be English subtitles tomorrow. If there's parts of this that you want to watch, please do that. Just let me check here. I always get concerned when people do things in the chat that they shouldn't. There's a lot of stuff flying by in the chat that should not be there. So let's just take care of that for a minute. We'll just keep hiding things and moving things. That's the problem of the internet, people. Sometimes people go a little crazy. So anyways, thanks for watching. I'm going to push the button to stop this stream.